Hey, what's up, guys? What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So, a lot of you guys saw the tier list that I did ranking every single superhero movie slash show ever. So, I thought I would do another one, this time going over all of the Studio Ghibli movies, which to me have long been a staple of like me and my childhood. And I love every single one of them. Well, the ones that I've seen. We'll get into that. But as for the ones that I've seen, it's so hard to like. Whenever someone asks me what my favorite Studio Ghibli movie is, a lot of the time I have no fucking idea. So what I'm going to try to do today is, you can see in this tier list, I have the best in an Italian accent, the best. And there's only going to be one movie up there, which is not how I did the last tier list. We had a lot up in the best category, and then the rest will be either in real flippin' good, pretty good, or eh. Because I don't want to ever insult Miyazaki or any Studio Ghibli movie ever, but there's some that are just eh, and they're just not for me. So that's as low as I'm really going to go. And then you can also see that there's another tier that just says haven't seen / no opinion. So these ones, some of them will probably come to a surprise, come as a surprise to some of you guys. Like, I haven't seen The Cat Returns, I haven't seen The Wind Rises, Porco Rosso, all the ones that you can see here. I think I may have seen from Earthsea, but I just don't have an opinion on it. Like, I don't remember anything. And so maybe I'll rewatch it at some point and try to figure that out. But as for now, I just don't really have an opinion on it. So let's get into it, guys, with the ones that are still remaining. And because there's a lot less titles on this tier list, I'll probably try to talk about more of them, like, or more in depth about the ones that I put in certain categories. Starting with Kikis Delivery Service, I am putting that up in real flippin' good. Here's the thing with this, I might switch it down to pretty good. It was probably the first Studio Ghibli movie I ever saw. And what I can say about Kikis Delivery Service is that it's so bare bones, it's so slice of life. Like, there is no bad guy in the movie. There's no, like, a 3-act system where it's like, okay, here's what happens, and then, oh, the little twist happens, and then this. It's really just the story about a girl who wants to fucking be a witch and go deliver some pies to people, and like some hijinks ensue, and she's like, oh no, like, it's raining now, and oh my god, there's some birds that are attacking my broom, and oh shit, I accidentally put my cat with the fake cat. I don't know, that's all I remember. But the soundtrack, the setting of that movie, and just all of it. I mean, it's very much a movie that you could put on in the background, whatever it is you're doing, and just have a good time. It's fantastic. So for now, it's going to stay in real flippin' good, but I might drop it down to pretty good just because of the aforementioned things. My Neighbor Totoro. Oh man, I actually did not even think about where I'd put Totoro into. I'm going to put Totoro into pretty good. Obviously, that might be a spicy take just because, like, it's the quintessential fucking Studio Ghibli movie. I mean, like, for God's sake, Studio Ghibli's logo is Totoro. Like, Totoro is such a well-known and beloved character that's like, how do you not rate that as the best? But the thing about Totoro is that it is very much marketed towards, like, children. Not teenagers, not preteens, but, like, children. And that's fine. I still watch it. It's still fantastic. But, like, it's I don't know. It's the same kind of thing as Kiki's Delivery Service, where it's like, there's not a lot going on with the movie. It's just beautiful to look at. And there's obviously a lot of iconic things in that movie, from, like, the cat bus and all that. So that's why I'm going to put that one in pretty good. Okay. I kind of want to save this for last. I kind of want to save it for last. I may just do that. All right, so moving on, I'm actually going to choose Spirited Away for the next one, and I'm going to put that one in pretty good. That may be a spicy take as well. Here's the thing, though, is, like, Spirited Away was probably the second Studio Ghibli movie I'd ever seen, and I remember at the time, I fucking loved it. It was like, no movie could be better than Spirited Away. It was one of the most widely received Studio Ghibli movies because it was also co-produced by John Lasseter from Disney. I think he's now in Pixar. But yeah, like, Disney pushed this shit out because that's how, like, everyone needs to see Studio Ghibli movies. And so I remember this was the first one that they were like, yo, everyone go watch this. And watching it back now, the problems I have with it really are just that I think, as with a lot of these that I'll get into, is that the translation from English or from Japanese to English, sometimes the story can get lost in it. Like, it is not exactly one-to-one what is being said in the Japanese version. So I think Spirited Away definitely suffers from that a little bit. And also the fucking English voice actor for Chihiro drives me insane. Like, the amount of time she's like whining and screaming through that whole fucking movie, it just drives me insane. And I'm like, you know, I just, that's all I can do is just, Which, yeah, that's a big reason why people love this movie is fucking No Face, which I agree, No Face is great. I can't tell you the amount of bitches I know that have a Haku tattoo on them. It's true. I seriously know, like, off the top of my head, girls that I've met in person, I know 4. So it's ridiculous. Everyone loves Haku. Everyone loves this movie for its visuals, and the soundtrack is fucking next level. But I think the story kind of got, like, mistranslated a bit, and I think Chihiro's voice is just absolutely ridiculous, and I can't stand it. So that's why I'm putting that one in. Pretty good. It's still pretty good. All right, Grave of the Fireflies, bro. I'm putting this in eh. I'm really doing it. I'm doing it right now. I know a lot of you guys probably have high, good memories, or what? Probably not even good memories. Fuck that. Are you kidding me? This movie sucks. And I don't mean it because it sucks because it's a Ghibli movie or anything like that. It sucks because it's really trying to play on your fucking emotional heartstrings, and I fucking hate when movies do that. Not to mention, it is a bit of an older Ghibli movie. A lot of people that watch Ghibli don't even know that it is a Ghibli movie. And so the animation is a bit dated. It's still beautiful to watch, but it's picking such a delicate subject matter that it's like, it's kind of like desaturated and it's gloomy, and I don't know. Like, when I watch a Ghibli movie, think off the top of your head. Like, when someone says the word Ghibli movie, what pops into your head? Because for me, it's always like beautiful, lush scenery, whether that's in Kikis Delivery Service or fucking Princess Mononoke or Howl's Moving Castle or Castle in the Sky. There's always those beautiful, lush scenery and really, like, crazy, vivid imagery, like things that you have never, like, that are not just in our world. Like, otherworldly things is what pops into my head. And so when you put a very realistic, like, oh, here's World War II, but in Ghibli style, it kind of doesn't mesh well for me personally. So that's why I'm putting that one in eh. It was too gloomy. Okay, I don't like it. Howl's Moving Castle, I'm going to put in real flippin' good. This actually was my favorite Studio Ghibli movie for the longest time. The only reason that it's recently, probably within the last 5 years or so, moved, we'll get into. But I would say that the pros of Howl's Moving Castle definitely far outweigh the cons. The pros for me being that the story is beautiful, the characters are beautiful, the animation is probably peak Miyazaki and Ghibli for me. Like, I don't know that there's a better animated Studio Ghibli movie. But similarly to Spirited Away, this is a movie that very much gets lost in translation. There's some story elements that I think were definitely nailed better in the Japanese version. And also, this was based off of a book, which I think, from the translation from the book to the actual, like, anime, things got a little bit mistranslated there as well. So as far as, like, visually, holy fuck, this is amazing. And plus, like, I like watching the American versions of these movies because they do get a lot of really well respected and talented voice actors and just actors in general, including, of course, Billy Crystal as the voice for Calcifer. I love Calcifer so much, I have a fucking cat named after it. Him. Her. So got Calcifer. Fucking Howl is actually played by Christian Bale. A lot of people didn't know that. So yeah, they do get a lot of really talented voice actors for this movie and others. Pretty much all Miyazaki movies, but that one was definitely a highlight for me personally. Moving on, Arrietty. Oh man, I don't know that I have an opinion about Arrietty. I think it's been so long since I've seen it that I really truly don't remember. Also, isn't Mary and the Witch's Flower also a Ghibli movie that's not on here? I'm just noticing that. I think Mary and the Witch's Flower definitely should be on here. Well, for both of those, I think I'm going to put them into haven't seen / no opinion. Even Mary and the Witch's Flower, I remember watching it and being oh, cool, another Ghibli movie. And then it just wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. It was somewhere in the middle, but I don't want to give it that rating without have properly been able to go back and watch it again. So yeah, Arrietty I think will also go in that category where it's I need to watch it to have a full opinion about it. Also, if I sound sick, just want to put this out here. I am still getting over a cold, so I have a little bit of nasally sounds going on, but hopefully you haven't noticed too much of that. Moving on though to Princess Mononoke. I think if there was a category in between the best and real flippin' good, Mononoke goes there for me. It's so good. It's just so good. With Princess Mononoke, it also has the same issue where some of the story does get lost in translation from Japanese to English, but I think this one is probably the best when it comes to not losing a lot of it. On top of it, though, this is, I think, Miyazaki's best venture into a fully fleshed out world setting. This is an epic. This is a let's focus on a protagonist that actually has a problem, needs to go fix it. This definitely follows the 3-act formula, but it also the world itself feels huge, and it was something that when watching Princess Mononoke, I'm I want to see more of it. I would love to see in a Mononoke extended universe to see what else is going on, in that world. And something else that cannot be underappreciated is the soundtrack of Princess Mononoke is the best out of any Ghibli movie ever. The best. Just hands down, the motherfucking best. Go right now and look up Departure to the West by Joe Hisaishi. Little unknown fact as well, Joe Hisaishi is my favorite composer of all time because of these movies, but really specifically because of Princess Mononoke. He absolutely just knocks it out of the park. Absolutely beautiful. So I think that's why I would rate Princess Mononoke the highest out of all of these so far. Another thing about it is I think it's the only PG-13 one of these movies. There's a lot of gore, surprisingly. I remember seeing this as a kid, sort of. I don't remember how old I was, but I was definitely old and young enough where when I saw an arrow get shot and chop a guy's arms off, I was holy shit! I was that's fucking nuts, man! That's what I sounded like as a kid. Yeah, dude, that shit was crazy. I liked the darker tone. While I will say, how I was kind of saying with Grave of the Fireflies, the dark tone of the World War II setting doesn't really mesh well with the vibrancy of Miyazaki's stuff. Princess Mononoke is a darker tone that does mesh well with the vibrancy of all of Miyazaki's work. So, yep, that's where I'm putting that one. Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. I'm putting that one in. Oh, I really want to put it up in real flippin' good. Every time I watch Nausicaa, I want to rate it higher. Truly, it's a beautiful, amazing movie, and seeing it next to Totoro and Spirited Away, it needs to go higher, but this is one where the animation is definitely dated. Every time I watch it, the story itself is incredible. I remember even the soundtrack does stand out to me, and I think that this is probably my favorite female protagonist in any Miyazaki movie, looking at all the other ones. I like her better than Sophie. I like her better than even Princess Mononoke, though Ashitaka was the main protagonist. I definitely like her better than Chihiro. So yeah, I really do think Nausicaa is probably my favorite character female protagonist. It's fantastic. And I was saying with Princess Mononoke, Princess Mononoke is like it feels like a whole ass world, right? So does Nausicaa. Nausicaa also feels like an epic where it deals with several different kingdoms, and I loved that aspect about it too. Is like this is almost like a medieval take. Like it's very interesting. It's like medieval a little bit because there's like a lot of people have swords and shit, but then it's also post-apocalyptic because it deals with everyone's dead pretty much, but the people that have come out alive, have survived into making their own kingdoms and stuff. And I think that that's such a cool ass fucking premise. And it deals with a lot of like environmental issues and like, I don't know. See, even me talking about it, you could tell that I'm passionate about it, which is why I want to put it up in Real Flippin' Good. I think I'm going to do it. I'm doing it. But yeah, definitely check out Nausicaa if you have not already. Very, very good. Ponyo. Oh, baby. Okay. This is going to be maybe spicy, but I'm putting Ponyo in eh. I remember that this was the first movie that had come out after, like, I think the first one that had come out after Howl's Moving Castle. So I had high expectations. I'm going to be honest here. I had high expectation watching Ponyo. And I remember watching it and being like, that was it? And I think it's because Ponyo was very much also like Totoro, centered and marketed towards children. And so because I'm not a children, I didn't fully enjoy it. I didn't appreciate it as much. But I do remember really loving the animation. Yeah, overhyped mainly for kids. I will say that as well. Like, I remember, I think all of the marketing material for Ponyo was like, hey, if you're a Ghibli fan and you liked Howl's Moving Castle, you're gonna love this. And it like showed like kind of the darker aspects of the movie Ponyo instead of like being like, hey kiddies, if you want to watch the lighthearted nonsense movie, then you're gonna love this. Like it was even the marketing itself seemed like it was trying to get it towards teenagers or whatever. If I remember right, I don't know. That's just how I remember it. I think you like it too much because you grew up watching Ponyo. So that's the thing too, is that like I loved Spirited Away growing up because I had grown up watching it until other ones came out and I was like, okay, now I have a more fondness for that. So second to last, Whisper of the Heart. I'm also putting this in pretty good. That was a movie that I had on DVD, and I remember not my first girlfriend, but my longest relationship I've ever had, which was 6 years. We started dating, and I was like, have you seen any of the Ghibli movies? And she's like, no. And I was like, what the fuck? So I remember watching like a bunch with her, and then she's like, what's this Whisper of the Heart one? And I remember I had it on DVD, so I just let her borrow it. And she went and watched it, and she's like, that one's my favorite. And I was like, really? She's like, yeah, I loved that one. So that Whisper of the Heart is a movie that I have fondness towards because of her, because of my ex, who, you know, I could talk about exes all goddamn day and how most of them are terrible. But this ex has a nice place in my heart, you know, like I think fondly back on memories I had with her. So I think Whisper of the Heart reminds me of her. And so I am just, it's kind of hard for me to watch it because of it. But like every so often when I do, I'm reminded as to why it's such a great movie, but also reminded of her. So yeah, you should watch The Cat Returns because it's kind of a runoff. I did hear about that. Yeah. Cause you have the fucking cat in Whisper of the Heart. It's basically a sequel, but not really. Yeah. And then last but certainly not least, I'm sure you all knew where this was going. My favorite Studio Ghibli movie of all time is Castle in the Sky. And this is something that has only recently happened, probably within the last like 5 or so years. I don't remember why or what had happened, because forever Howl's Moving Castle was my favorite Ghibli movie. Which is also weird because you can see, like, if this is actually a tier list, it drops from Castle in the Sky, Princess Mononoke, Kiki's Delivery Service, and then Howl's Moving Castle. So it's like they really do shift around depending, and I think that's a good indication. It's an indication that like your taste evolves and all of that stuff, but Ghibli itself as a whole will always be an important thing, you know. So Castle in the Sky, I watched it. I don't remember the first time I watched it, but I want to say I was probably like 16. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool. And then I watched it again when I was like 20 or 22, 3, somewhere around there. And I remember being like, holy fuck, this is good. And then I watched it again a couple years later, and I was like, this is my favorite. Like somehow over the course of a few years, it really shifted to be my favorite. And I think pacing wise, it is the best. It is hands down just like from the start of the movie to the end of the movie, you don't feel like there was any kind of like fluff for a lot of these movies. And I'm even saying Princess Mononoke, Howl's Moving Castle has some fluff, Nausicaa has some fluff, Totoro definitely does, Spirited Away. There's some parts of the movie where it's slow. You're like, okay, what's happening here? And I'm not like saying that every movie has to be like fast paced and shit. Like, but I think even the slow parts, like the parts in Castle in the Sky where they're like underground and they're like walking around looking at all the Ethereum crystals and Uncle Palm's under there, and they're just talking. They're just having a time under there. Even those parts felt like they moved the plot forward and that there was a reason for it. Obviously, I'm going to say this, the soundtrack of Castle in the Sky, while not being as good as Princess Mononoke, is on par. And it's so, like, I could not listen to the Castle in the Sky soundtrack right now without crying. Like, it hits emotions in me that are buried deep. Also, I think the protagonist of Lushita and what's the dude's name? What's the fucker's name? I don't remember. It's like my favorite Ghibli movie. I don't even know his name. They had the most believable chemistry. In both the Japanese and American versions, I believed their story the most. Also, I think Muska, the bad guy, the antagonist, voiced by the way, Mark Hamill, fucking Luke Skywalker, aka Patsu. That's what I was. Yes, thank you. But voiced by Luke Skywalker, aka the Joker, like, you got the most legendary fucking voice actor playing the bad guy. Of course it's gonna be good. But that character was fascinating to me because he wasn't like a, think of, I don't know, you could say that the bad guy in Spirited Away is like one of the witches, right? The witch looks menacing and fucking nasty. The witch in Howl's Moving Castle looks menacing and fucking nasty. But the thing I loved about the character that Mark Hamill played, General Muska, or Colonel Muska? Yeah, Colonel Muska, is that he's just a dude. But he commands so much, like, intimidation. Like, he's an intimidating force just being a dude. And I thought that was really neat. And, like, his story made sense. The fucking, like, the imagery of Castle in the Sky. The fucking, like, the town that Patsu lives in is amazing. The Sky Pirates, dude. Oh my god. Like, you have a fucking story about Sky Pirates. That's sick. And, like, oh my god. The kind of character arc of the Sky Pirates being kind of assholes in the beginning and then like becoming fucking family at the end, that's amazing. I loved it. What else? What else can I gush about? The actual fucking Laputa, beautiful. The visuals of the robots though, dude, fuck, I love them. Like, I love them. When I was getting my first debit card and you could kind of customize your debit cards, I wanted so badly for my debit card to be the little robot with like the flower in his hand, like doing the, like giving it to them both. Like, there's just some like really striking, sticks with you forever imagery in Castle in the Sky. I mean, look at the fucking poster of Castle in the Sky. That's an image that sticks with you. The robot doing the hand thing sticks with me every single time. It's just beautiful. And really, it's like I said with the whole pacing thing, it's one of the only Ghibli movies that follows a structure of Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and isn't boring because of it. It's like made better the fact that it has a structure. I don't know, man. I fucking love Castle in the Sky. But guys, that's actually not it. That is not it. That is not the last Studio Ghibli thing I'm going to be ranking today, because up here in the best, I'm sorry, Castle in the Sky, you're going to have to move down to second for this, is Ni no Kuni, which is a Studio Ghibli property. And you can see here on my wrist right here, this tattoo right here, which is from Ni no Kuni. Now, for those of you guys who maybe have never heard of Ni no Kuni, the first Ni no Kuni game It is a game. Came out in 2013, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, for PS3. And it follows the story of Oliver, whose mom dies, and he ends up. Where do I even go with this story? Oliver's mom dies, and he, through tears, while he's crying about his dead mom, is able to bring alive a stuffed animal who informs him that he was actually a fairy who had a curse put on him, and that there's a whole other world where soulmates of people exist. So it's possible that his dead mom may still be alive in this other world. So there's the setup and the motivation for Oliver's story of Ni no Kuni. And Ni no Kuni is basically a Studio Ghibli movie, because you got the absolutely incredible visuals of something that you expect from Ghibli, but in a fucking open world that you can explore. The music is amazing, and the story, dude, like the story's incredible, the artwork's incredible, everything about Ni no Kuni and the Wrath of the White Witch is amazing. And so I knew when I wanted to get a Studio Ghibli tattoo, I wanted to get something from Ni no Kuni. And this is the gateway spell that Oliver uses to get to the other world, which for me was symbolic for how Ghibli as a whole has been for me. Ghibli has allowed me from a young age to escape the sad, depressing nature of our world and gateway to one that is bright and vibrant and allows your imagination to take flight and think about things that are not possible. I think that without Studio Ghibli and without Ni no Kuni, I would not nearly be as creative of a mind as I am, and it was all thanks to Hayao Miyazaki and Joe Hisaishi and their breathtaking world building that they've done for all of these movies, even the ones that I've put in the haven't seen, no opinion on, or that I put for those two. Even then, they are breathtaking works of art. And, you know, while this is a tier list, you know, these are just my personal opinions, but all of these have a place, a special place in people's hearts for a reason. And so, yeah, Ni no Kuni, you absolutely should play the first one at least. Another kind of poll I will say to that game is, it is basically Pokemon, but better. I am not fucking kidding. It is Pokemon, but better. At least the first one. And then Ni no Kuni kind of did this thing where they're like, wow, okay, that first game was pretty successful. Let's make another one. But Studio Ghibli was like, we don't want to be involved in the next one. So then they kind of did their own thing after that. And the second one for me was just not good. Then they tried to make a movie out of not the characters from the first Ni no Kuni. They did it like with other characters that didn't even exist in the universe. And the movie was And then they tried to make a show out of it with the same shit. And it was just I'm really actually bummed that like Ni no Kuni isn't part of the Ghibli verse. And, you know, they didn't expand on it because it technically belongs to like the developers or whatever. So yeah, that's where I'm going to leave this list. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it or liked some of these that you guys saw. Let me know what you guys thought, or if you guys have any differences of opinions in the comments of this video down below. That said, everyone, I will see you next time, and fair winds.